On every continent across the globe, human activities are destroying the very resources we all need to survive. Earth is losing its last intact forests and key wildlife species at an ever-increasing rate not seen since the Ice Age. The accelerating deforestation of our planet is damaging the ability of our Earth's atmosphere to absorb the excessive carbon dioxide produced by mankind. Even as tens of thousands of scientists, governments, and the United Nations raise the alarm, we continue to cut, burn, and kill. As ecosystems collapse, temperatures rise, and species disappear, the importance of protecting our existing national parks becomes even more critical. National parks are our last bastions for intact forests, marine ecosystems, and wildlife habitats. Only by enforcing nature protection laws, prosecuting criminals illegally cutting and mining our forests, and stopping wildlife poachers and traffickers can we hope to reduce the irreversible impact of our destruction. Join us as we fight back against mankind's war on nature. Europe's primary forests and wildlife all but vanished centuries ago. Georgia on the Black Sea in the Caucasus Mountains is one of the last countries left in Europe with old-growth forests and wildlife habitats. Global Conservation's mission is to protect endangered national parks and wildlife in developing countries. We came to Georgia to support the rangers and park authorities in their work to protect Borjomi National Park, the oldest national park in the Caucasus with large intact primary forests and rich mountain ecosystems that support wildlife. Despite its strategic location in large forested areas, Georgia faces its own war on nature with the killing of wildlife by local hunters and professional poachers, and the destruction caused by large-scale logging operations. The 2008 military invasion by Russia was a literal war with disastrous results for nature. Through the deployment of global park defense and community protection, Borjomi National Park rangers are now using modern equipment, smart patrolling systems, satellite communications, and intelligent surveillance methods to combat the war on nature being waged in their park. Jeff Morgan has been fighting for the protection of global parks and wildlife for over 2 decades. As Executive Director of Global Conservation, Morgan developed the Global Park Defense and Community Protection Systems with a renowned global advisory board. These systems are now used by over 30 endangered national parks and UNESCO World Heritage Sites all over the world.
So Georgia's done a great job to set up national parks. They've been able to set these parks up. Now we have to protect them. So the big problem here is there's many hunters coming in from all sides. We need to be able to have surveillance in place, the Global Park Defense System with cellular trail cameras, identifying illegal activities within the park rapidly, get the teams out there to arrest the people and interdict them, and then be able to follow up with the prosecution.
Nature protection expert Greg Brown has been deploying global park defense around the world for nearly a decade.
One of the best things you want to do out there is you want to be prepared. So before you go out there and start making assessments and going on patrol, you want to know what's in the area. So to be able to work with the military and the Marines to do flyovers and spot problemed areas, even illegal areas.
Because the rangers in Georgia don't have weapons. That's not part of their kit, and that causes a lot of issues because they're obviously much afraid to go up against people with big guns.
In Georgia, not all rangers receive the required firearms training that permits them to carry weapons. Regardless, after 6 years of working with Global Conservation, strong park and wildlife protection is clearly evident now, with long-range patrolling and the resulting arrests every year of wildlife poachers and illegal loggers.
People are coming in to get these trophy animals from all sides, the Russian side, from Azerbaijan, and from the villages around here. Hunting is still a very popular sport, and these are highly illegal. These are protected areas, and we have to do everything we can to help the rangers and the park director protect this area.
In 2024, Global Conservation is working to bring global park defense to Rasha National Park, Georgia's newest park, where trucks, equipment, gear, and communications are being rolled out to protect this stunning high mountain landscape with mixed forests and ancient cultural heritage. Just in the past 10 years, Georgia has established 8 new national parks. Borjomi and Rasha National Parks are 2 of the most cherished examples of nature protection in the national park system. Seeing Rasha National Park today, it's hard to imagine the daunting challenges of park and nature protection. Just last year, a devastating and deadly landslide wiped out the villages in the park. First responders raced to save survivors using the first ranger truck provided by Global Conservation. Sadly, 32 people were lost in this natural disaster. Park restoration efforts are ongoing. As much as climate change presents new levels of hardships for all life on Earth, mankind's war on nature is causing species and habitat loss on all the front lines. But the most heinous and destructive fronts are the places where we wage war on ourselves. This unprovoked invasion was not only devastating to the Georgian people, but also to the country's national parks and wildlife habitats. As the Red Army overtook Georgia's South Ossetia region in the Caucasus Mountains, incendiary bombing by warplanes resulted in massive forest fires, reaching all the way into Borjomi National Park. This illegal invasion resulted in the loss of 420,000 hectares of Georgia to the occupiers. The invasion resulted in the citizens of this sovereign nation living in fear, and the tense border between the countries remains highly contested to this day. Six years later, Russia would invade Ukraine. The Russo-Ukrainian War escalated in 2022, resulting in further atrocities. Global Conservation's work in Carpathian National Park was further challenged as park rangers suddenly had to become soldiers in defense of the nation. The war in Ukraine rages on to this day, but our work continues there as we maintain global park defense in the park. Georgia is still under the constant threat of invasion, making the protection of its critical habitats and wildlife even more challenging. Precious limited resources are wasted on war, and available labor is scarce. Funds that would normally be used for national park protection and sustainable tourism development are redirected to war efforts, leaving these natural treasures less protected. Even though the hunting of wildlife is illegal in Georgia, the poaching continues.
We have the Tor, which is a beautiful mountain sheep with big horns. We have over 100 bear. The populations are still strong and are coming back because this has been protected. But again, they've had 30, 40 poachers over the last 5 years arrested, which means they probably have another 10 times that in terms of poaching in the park.
Whereas Europe has lost almost all its wildlife and intact forests, Georgia's parks remain strongholds for brown bears, wolves, deer, Eurasian lynx, and golden eagles. The people of Georgia want to see these breathtaking landscapes protected, the animal populations saved, and their cultural heritage preserved. Community protection goes hand in hand with global park defense. By working closely with local communities in and around national parks, global conservation promotes sustainable tourism, job creation, nature education, and socialization to convert exploitation to conservation. Georgia's Agency for Protected Areas is now leading the fight against illegal wildlife poaching, illegal logging, overgrazing, pollution, and uncontrolled development happening inside their national parks. As Georgia is a smaller country without oil or mineral wealth, younger skilled workers are forced to leave the country in search of employment. Now, nature and cultural tourism are seen as opportunities for a brighter future for Georgia, which has just been invited to join the European Union. Firth Griffith is an expert on international economics and sits on the board of Global Conservation.
We'd like to see more participation by the municipal government. We'd like to see more bed taxes, more gate fees, and of course, more innovative financing solutions across the region.
Through our partner, Caucasus Nature Fund, the German government has provided nearly 100 million euros for the creation and protection of national parks in Georgia. A huge win. Without the generosity of the German people, Georgia would be decades behind in nature protection and achieving 30 by 30 United Nations climate goals. Securing critical funding for park and wildlife protection is literally a matter of life or death. Global Conservation must raise millions of dollars every year to train park rangers and provide the necessary technology, systems, and equipment for them to implement global park defense across massive mountainous areas with difficult access and constant threats. With the loss of our lead ranger in Borjomi National Park during a large forest fire, we are constantly reminded of the very real dangers they face on the front line in the war on nature.
Our future for wilderness.
Mike Sutton is a veteran environmental leader who's worked for numerous NGOs as well as government agencies and institutions. Now president of the Goldman Environmental Prize, Sutton also holds the position of board chair for Global Conservation.
Last year alone, more than 200 conservationists and environmental defenders around the world were killed in the line of duty, many of them in places like the Amazon, South America, Central America, and so forth. But it happens everywhere. The rangers are the first line of defense for our wildlife and protected areas, and they deserve our support. They deserve as many resources as we can give them because they are the front line in that war on wildlife. So the work that Global Conservation is doing here in Borjomi, in Racha, in all the wonderful national parks of this country is so important.
In November 2023, Global Conservation co-hosted the Borjomi Summit with over 150 international delegates.
We have more than 15 countries presenting here. Unfortunately, I will not have time to express all the names of our distinguished delegates, but I would like to mention the countries which are here with us today and to discuss most important issues regarding to protection of biodiversity, conservation, biodiversity monitoring. So, of course, we have guests from the United States of America, from Germany, Armenia, Iran, Turkey, Albania, Korea, Romania, Bulgaria, Montenegro, United Kingdom, Ukraine, and North Macedonia.
I have to say, the Ukraine, the war is destroying many of the parks and taking the rangers to the front lines. We're losing thousands of rangers from Ukraine today as we speak. Every day we're losing another friend.
Dr. Olena Slobodian is a Ukrainian scientist whose work in Carpathian National Park was interrupted by the 2022 invasion of her homeland.
Carpathian National Nature Park is one of the oldest and the biggest national park in the western part of Ukraine and in whole Ukraine. Other national parks in the Carpathians are facing really a lot of challenges and threats, and we hope that you join us and help us to protect and support us in future actions.
Global Conservation remains committed to its critical support of park and wildlife protection in Ukraine and Georgia. The Georgian people prosper when their beautiful country is protected by the rule of law. when their watersheds are clean and wildlife can return to thrive in flourishing forests. It's time to put an end to our war on nature. Those are the conditions that will allow the economy of Georgia to prosper. Tourists want to visit beautiful national parks in safety.
So we're hoping that through our Global Park Defense Program in Borjomi, now in Racha and Lagodeki here, we can build the experience in Georgia to how to really protect the parks that they're setting up and keep out the illegal activities so that the park grows and the animal populations can prosper.
So with the support of Global Conservation and its partners working in the national parks of Georgia, the habitats of endangered species will be protected, the natural and cultural heritage will be preserved, and the dedicated rangers who serve to protect will always be appreciated. Visit our website. Get involved today.